has also issued a sharp warning to Iran's leadership, even as nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran are set to go ahead this Friday, that's tomorrow. Now asked if Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei should be worried, Trump said he should be very worried. The warning came just hours after the Trump administration agreed to revive talks with Iran that had appeared close to collapse. Now, the talks were initially planned in Istanbul, but Iran insisted on moving the venue to Muscat and limiting discussions to only nuclear issues. Ajay, how is one to see Trump's warning to Iran just ahead of the nuclear talks? Doesn't really set a great precedent, does it?
Yes, as I said that, U.S. is continuously trying to sense about, Iran's nuclear power. They are also trying to sense that whether they have developed it or not, or they are going for the same program, because during the recent conflict when Israel targeted Iran and then U.S. also, carried out an attack on Iran, and which was retaliated by the Iran as well. At that time, there were statements from the Iranian regime side that we are not going to stop our nuclear program, and that was the reason that this tension was continuously mounting over there. But now, when this tension is going on, meanwhile, when talks was scheduled and it was cancelled, so there was some apprehension that it could lead to more trouble, and anytime, even the situation sometime was like that. Anytime U.S. can carry out attack, because the way they were continuously moving their warships, their fighter jets and other, that was not giving a very good sign. And at the same time, Iran was also continuously trying to display their missile system and other things. So both the countries, they are on the ready mode. But yes, talks is the only option by which they can pacify the situation. So that is going to be very important, because Iranian regime, they are adamant, and the U.S. is U.S. President Trump is continuously warning Iran for the same. That is the main reason that the tension is continuously escalating.
Right, Ajay, thank you once again very much for sharing those details with us. And viewers, we are now going to move on. Now, J.D. Vance has said that diplomacy with Iran is uniquely difficult because Washington cannot speak directly to the country's real decision maker. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei once said that in Iran, the president does not hold real power and that the Supreme Leader is the one who makes all major decisions. He added that the U.S. has mainly communicated through Iran's foreign minister, who in turn reports to the Supreme Leader. Drawing a comparison, Vance said that U.S. President Donald Trump can directly call leaders like Russia's Vladimir Putin or China's Xi Jinping, even with countries where relations are hostile. Calling the situation bizarre, Vance said the inability to engage directly with Iran's actual leadership makes meaningful diplomacy extremely challenging. All right, Ajay is... All right, viewers, yeah, big statement now coming in from Vance, J.D. Vance, the U.S. Vice President. He's clearly indicated a lack of a channel for diplomacy, saying the U.S. can only communicate through the foreign minister and not directly with the leadership. He even went on to call this situation rather bizarre. Aditya Vadhavan is there with us to get us more details on this. Aditya, talks now scheduled tomorrow between Iran and the U.S., but just ahead of that, Trump's vice president is saying the situation in Iran is bizarre based on the fact that they are not able to directly communicate with the leadership, but only with the foreign minister. How is one to view these developments?
There is a lot of, problems with between U.S. and Iran. Definitely, talks will be scheduled to take place in Muscat. But however, it needs to be seen, because U.S. is definitely is saying that the Iran has to lessen down on its ballistic missiles. However, Iran said that the talks with US will only be pertaining to the nuclear program. So clearly, at this juncture, there is a deadlock between the US and Iranian side, and it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario. Kriti.
All right, Aditya, stay on. We have some details now coming up as far as US and Israel are concerned. According to reports, the US has asked Israel to refrain from any military action against Iran while nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran are underway in Oman. Reportedly, coordination between the US and Israel is at an unprecedented level, with a heavy exchange of military and intelligence officials between Washington and Jerusalem. The request comes that Iran and the US confirm nuclear-only talks in Muscat on Friday, even as Tehran refuses to discuss its ballistic missile program or regional activities. Israel has reiterated its red lines, including zero uranium enrichment, removal of Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, and an end to its missile program and support for proxy groups. Aditya, can Iran really be expected to fulfill all of these major demands of the US and Israel without it really getting any concessions in return, or the sanctions on it to be lifted?
Well, definitely, Iran is hoping to, see if any sanctions will be lifted by the United States of America, considering the fact, there has been a complete, a turmoil, as far as the sanctions have crippled the Iranian economy for years, and now there will be more scrutiny by the United States over Iran, considering the fact that whether they will, give in to this or not. This needs to be seen, because the situation at this juncture, there are concerns regarding whether the talks between US and Iran would be fulfilling, or there will be disagreements which could initially led to an escalation in the Middle East. So all these things are very complex as far as the Middle East is concerned, and it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario. Kriti.
Yes, Aditya, thank you for sharing those details, and of course talks are something that we will be looking out for. Meanwhile, viewers, we move on. Now, oil prices have slipped after the US and Iran confirmed they will hold talks in Oman on Friday, easing immediate fears of a military confrontation in the Middle East. Brent crude fell over 1% to trade below $69 a barrel, while US West Texas intermediate dropped to around $64. The decline comes after markets reacted positively to the confirmation that nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran are back on track, reducing concerns over potential supply disruptions from the region. Oil had surged earlier on fears that the talks could collapse, but prices retreated as officials from both sides said negotiations would go ahead. Aditya, we are now watching some kind of stability, but prices are falling as of now amidst Trump's threats.
There has been a stability in the oil prices as far as the meetings between the US and Iran is concerned, because they have now agreed to talk in Muscat, and definitely at this juncture there are concerns regarding the same, and it needs to be seen whether there could be some talks, whether there would be any fruitful talks between the US and Iran or not. Otherwise, the oil prices are expected to increase if full-blown or a limited scale war breaks out between the United States and Iran. So clearly at this juncture, everybody is closely, particularly in the Middle East, monitoring what goes on, whether Iran agrees or not to Iran agrees to the demands kept by the United States or not, or otherwise there is a great chance of a regional a Middle East war between the US and Iran, wherein Iran has already warned for retaliation. Yes, Kriti.
All right, Aditya, thanks once again for sharing all the latest with us. And with that, viewers, we're now going to slip into a very quick break. Stay tuned to NewsX for all news and updates.